Hi, my name is Kim Barnes, and I am the founder and content creator at Lipstick and Tech, where I help entry to mid-level tech professionals launch their Salesforce career. Today, in a continuation of my most popular video on my channel currently, which is the day in the life of an admin, I wanted to take the time to really talk through what the day in the life might look like for a business analyst or consultant. Both roles kind of entail some sort of data analysis and problem solving, but the key distinction is more on the focus. So a business analyst might typically spend most of their day working within the organization and optimizing a lot of just internal processes, and more importantly, just try to get some data-driven insights going deeper into it. Whereas a consultant is working across a number of clients, or they're more focused on addressing their specific needs and delivering on one particular solution. Your actual responsibilities and what your day might look like will vary. I can personally attest to that, considering I've worked in a number of business analyst and consulting roles, and frankly, a combination of the two kind of looped up into one role. But it's just dependent on what the size of your organization. Let's talk a little bit about the morning commute. So if you are a business analyst, you're working internally with your organization, it might just depend on who you're working for. Not all of the business analyst jobs are going to be in person. Sometimes they're going to be remote. And now a consultant, very similar assessment, except now it'll vary by client. Now, I have had a number of projects where I almost was never in person, but that was just due to like a budgeting situation where they mostly wanted us remote. But there are other clients that say, yeah, we want you to be there. And so there's a number of things to consider when it comes to travel. Every consulting firm will be different. Some will also require you to even travel a certain percentage. I just happen to be one of those consultants that hasn't really traveled since I started my job as a consultant. And so that commute will be up to wherever you're going. For the last few projects that I've been on, I'd say for the most part, I got really lucky. My commute wasn't more than like an hour. Granted, not really a great thing to happen all the time, but that's definitely better than most. Some people have to take that flight out on Sunday morning to get there, or sometimes it's Monday morning, and then when you'd expect, which is the other weekend. But long story short, I'm looking at a morning commute, morning arrival of anything internally. They might even have just a myriad of morning meetings, depending on the project that you're working on. That could be honestly anything between 8 o'clock to even 11:30 in the morning. Both of these jobs have very similar types of routines where if you're in a current sprint, you might have meetings related to just hearing what the developers are working on, what is the current progress on a project, what are you working on as far as the progress of your user stories, and so on. The key thing here is that you might be kind of just diving into the heart of the work that you're going through. Again, business analysts and consultants might have some overlap with that. One of the things, and probably the reason why you won't hear a whole lot of that detail online, is because a lot of that content itself might be very private, but it could be anything from honestly just routine presentations to grooming, which is essentially going through the details of the requirements, the user stories that the developers might take on, or even just hearing questions and a little bit of back and forth between cross-functional teams in the end of the day. Now, everyone's favorite time, lunchtime. I'll admit, for a lot of consultants in particular, they might not get the most out of their lunchtime because they might buy in some of that time to prepare for any future presentations or just reporting preparation that might be needed. I can tell you from personal experience that for both of those roles, I've always had to do some sort of preparation. Whether I could get it done in the morning was preferable, but considering the back-to-back meetings that you might have, which seems to be very popular with organizations either way, they love to have the morning meetings. And so in the afternoon, if I can spare the time to get some time to actually work through some stuff, I will. Team collaboration. Team collaboration, I think, is generally what I'll also get more in the afternoon. I'd say probably around 3 p.m. is when I'm finally starting to really truly check in with my team, seeing if there's anything that we can address as far as gaps go, any future collaborative work, any engagement that might have to happen further down the line. I typically find that most of my meetings finally end around 3 p.m., but I will not give you the illusion that it's possible to have all your meetings end at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, just due to the nature of the project, and it can be dependent on the pace of the project. I have had a project where I spent most of my days in meeting, doing a lot of the collaborative work that was needed, but it would be more of like a working session. Fortunately, that means there's some things that I have to kind of put a pin on and work on later. Now, what does later mean? Later can mean, post the typical 9 to 5 work hours, but it could also just mean something I just pick up in between meetings during a day, or to be frank, it might even be 4 p.m. There's space and there's room for kind of problem solving and troubleshooting. Now, there's 2 times of day that might happen. I typically think that would generally happen around 3 p.m. just because there could be things that after all those meetings have ended, then we're discovering, oh wait, okay, this is the sort of like next thing that we need to address, the next thing that we need to work on. As you're hearing here, the kind of complexity and flexibility of that day is really dependent on the organization. Most business analysts, most consultants might end their day at 5 p.m., which unfortunately means for them that they get to go home. Now, I can tell you, having worked at a larger firm, that might not always be the case. I have had projects where I got to end even slightly earlier in the day because we really crossed our T's, dotted our I's with a lot of the deliverables that would be needed, but then we know, quote unquote, the storm is coming, that it is possible that there will be more specific needs and demands that we'll have to address at a later time, but they're just dependent on other items that need to be addressed first. And so I can finish my day anything from 5 o'clock to, frankly, 7 p.m., just accounting for the fact that I might have to leave to go home, take care of dinner, actually spend a little bit of time relaxing. There's a lot of glamorization that happens between both business analysis and consulting jobs, but one of the things that I really take away from that I've really enjoyed is just the matter of being flexible, latching on to projects that are in an industry that you're really good at, you're really passionate about, or frankly, really honing in on a specific skill. I think part of the reason why I really enjoy both of these lines of work is because I get to explore different industries, but using a lot of my Salesforce tech acumen to really provide some sort of solutioning or brainstorming in those situations, especially since the business analyst and the consultant may not always build. There are instances where we will build. There are times where the business analyst or the consultant might be responsible for coming and hopping online during a go live. A go live is just the official deployment of whatever said product is going to production so that users can actually use the platform. I've had some projects where I have not been needed to go there and actually test the product while it's live. We have to coordinate a lot of resources to make sure that gets together. But those days are very unique and very stressful because not only am I really working 9 to 5, but there were instances where I would maybe hop off the phone or work or whatever at 3 p.m. just so I can make up for the 2 hours, sometimes 2 hours plus, that I might have to be online at 11 p.m., 12 p.m. to go live. Now, like I said, every organization is different. And so when you are hopping into those roles, I would encourage you to definitely ask the manager or your hiring manager to get a little more detail about what that typical lifestyle might look like, being ready and prepared to kind of make those quote unquote sacrifices or just expectations be put on the table about when you'll be reached outside of a typical 9 to 5. Now, this is not everybody's experience. Some people really have had that respected 9 to 5, and I love that for them. But I can tell you from personal experience that it really does vary depending on the project. I could typically clock out at 5, it felt fine. And then I've had other projects just because of the nature of the software, because I'm jumping in and this is a new industry for me. Sometimes it just doesn't end at 5. It just ends at taking a break between 5 and 9 p.m. And then, of course, at the end of the day, I'll head home and just make sure to take care of myself. One of the hardest things about this job is that it takes a lot of focus and dedication and making sure that your client is taken care of. So it is an easy job to burn out, especially in a corporate environment. Really make sure that you're prioritizing mental health in those instances. your manager and other supports can find ways to help you out in those instances. And that's the day in the life as a business analyst and consultant. Your results will clearly vary. Every organization is different. And so hopefully you're getting a little taste of what a schedule might look like. These skills are very transferable if you are really great communicator, you like learning about business, and you have the Salesforce knowledge to at least provide some sort of context of writing user requirements. And with that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you again for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.